we had nowhere to live. We didn't have the visa for us to be in this country until you did a corporate job and did the whole
legally, you
thing
cannot.
from beginning to end. I was on a dependent visa for years of my life. Hello, namaste, Zarna Garg here with the Zarna Garg Family Podcast. You're here for our newest episode. So excited to have all 5 Gargs in the house. My youngest, Veer Garg, who is a middle schooler. My middle child, Bridge Garg, who's heading off to college this fall. My daughter, who's finishing up college, Zoya Garg, and my husband of 25 years, Shalab Garg. We are so excited, and today's topic is going to get people upset. Is going to get people nervous. There is going to be a lot of emotion, and we are here for it. Today's topic is, as you kids are growing up and heading into various stages of adulthood, what all expenses are you going to pay for yourself, and how do you phase out of your parents' credit cards and your homes and your insurances and all of it? I want to hear what obligations you think you have towards your parents, what obligations your parents continue to have towards you. I want to hear all of it, and let's go.
I'm going first.
Oh, okay.
okay,
Whoa.
great.
Okay.
Okay. Even though I'm not expected to pay the bills yet, I already make a little bit of money through whatever, various things. So the first thing I'm going to try and stop making my parents pay for is like just stupid purchases. Just stuff like that I don't need to buy that I just want to buy because I like it. Something like shoes or like money on a game, something like that. I would just try and spend on myself. Like 2 days ago, I bought something on a game and I paid my mom back because I used her credit card to buy something, and I left the money on her nightstand.
Do you believe, Veer, that the act of doing so somehow gives you the ability to do so too? In other words, you don't need to take permission?
Yeah.
No, that is not true.
Yeah, that was a trick.
I
That is not true.
I
You can't stop me. It's my money. What?
No. Just because
Oh
you're
my
still
God.
12.
See,
You're not
this
an
is
adult
why.
yet.
This is why.
You do
I'm gonna
not
do
get
what
the
I
ability to make decisions of making those stupid purchases because you're using your own money to do so.
But it's not age dependent either. She doesn't have the
She's
ability, and
21,
neither does.
Zarna. Like she's about to get married and potentially in a year or two. I'm not going to stand there.
A year or two, wow.
I hope at least.
Okay, that's good to know.
No, but Bridge, we've had this conversation, right?
Yeah, but
He's
I
also
buy whatever
18.
I
For
want.
me, he is
No,
like an
but
adult.
we agree that that's not right.
What?
That you cannot just buy whatever
I
you want.
agree that you don't like that I do it. I don't agree that it's not right.
No,
Yeah,
the idea is not, listen, we all want you to be independent and have your own independent money.
Yeah.
That is true. But that does not mean that you just buy whatever you want, because you're still going to make dumb decisions. We have a lot of bad decision making
Yeah, we're
behind
entitled
us.
to those dumb decisions.
No, we want to save you from them, and therefore...
I don't
That's
need
not
you to- like, we
financial
don't- yeah.
independence.
Yeah, that is not financial
No,
independence.
financial
I'm not with
independence
you
is
on this.
Why? What do you
just
I think
said
that
that you
I
were
think that 18 and up,
That's ridiculous.
and Veer is not 18, he's 12. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way in hell that what I'm about to say applies to him. But, Zoya being 21 and Bridge being 18, they should be incrementally more and more and more both responsibility and privilege of making their own decisions. Now, hopefully we have raised intelligent and mature enough kids to seek the guidance of their parents, who are obviously more experienced and intelligent than they are.
That's called
And
trust.
That's still an ability that they have to or not to choose, because, they are adults. They have the right to vote.
He's a little bit getting older now and not making sense.
Oh.
I mean, I am 6 months younger than you.
Okay, whatever. Oh,
He pulled that card. Oh my
Can you believe it?
You know it's bad when he pulls that card.
We do not agree on this, and he is once again making me be the bad cop and remind the kids that they do not have autonomy with their money, because the plan is for me to have full access to their bank accounts when they earn money, for me to be able to see where they're putting their money, because we should be putting some of that money to work, and for me to gauge what all they're wasting money on, because just because you earn it does not mean you can spend it however you want. That is not what independence
That's
is.
not fair. Like Zoya, for example, very recently took my advice and acted on it by opening an account on treasurydirect.gov.
Yeah, I put
Right? Something on her own she would
I
not
put
have done.
so much money in from my
To buy
savings
T-bills,
account
right? Because
to
the interest rates in the front end are so
I
high.
did. I have a credit card that I opened myself, and I'm still navigating how to make sure that I'm doing that correctly. I've had a Citibank debit account since I was 16 and started tutoring. There are a lot of things that I've done to manage my own money. I agree with Veer. purchases that feel extravagant in any capacity, whether it's a coffee or an expensive like piece of clothing, jewelry, I always put on my own card. All of our business expenses, though, I definitely share with mom, which I think is interesting. So, for example, even this very podcast, the flight that I took from California here, I plan on using our business account to sponsor.
Which is fine.
Which I think would be fair.
Yeah, because you're working for the podcast.
I'm working for the podcast and I'm not being paid a salary for the podcast. So at least or
did I
anything.
hear some shade? Did I?
No.
Like some.
No,
I
there
feel
was
like
no
I
shade.
deserve to be getting paid a salary for this
What?
podcast.
Okay, hold on. This topic is going off the rails right now.
I
You're not
bring
talk-
viewership.
You
So
okay?
therefore,
You do bring
If you didn't have me, Baya, and Didi, the viewership would go down, and that's just the truth.
I don't want to get paid for the podcast.
Wow.
You don't have
that's
to want to.
messed up.
That's just
Did-
he had to take the moment.
Yeah, he had to take the moment.
No, but he
Veer, you know
believes
your
it.
worth. I respect you, Veer, for that.
But Bridge has maintained it all along. In fact, when I tried to give him a podcast bonus, he sent it back to
How
me.
come
and
I
said
never got
no.
that offer?
I did. I sent you a podcast bonus and you took it, and that's probably
But
how
you never
paid.
gave it to me.
I did.
I do not have that
It is
money.
part of our credit account. We are constantly running debits and credits. What
Okay,
you
we'll
owe
see
me and
about
what
this
I
after
owe
the
you.
show. I'm gonna have to.
Okay. Anyway, I appreciate that, Bridge. And this is
Wait,
not
can
to
I
say
just
that
can
he
we just
doesn't
talk
have-
about this mentally for a second though? I do think it's interesting because and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I didn't take the podcast bonus either. I don't think Veer even knows about the podcast bonus. You did offer it to us. I do think that if you are running a business, money is an incentive.
Yes.
Right? And it's not just an incentive, it's a way to formalize the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
So if Bridge is getting paid, then I wonder if he would bring, not that he isn't already, but you bring a certain degree of just professionalism when you know that there is going to be money.
So
at the
then
end.
why I did not get a podcast bonus?
I'm not saying, forget
For
the
your
podcast.
own podcast?
Forget
we
the-
own it together.
Forget the podcast bonus, but I do think that there is something to be said about, for example, one thing that we talk about a lot is in some cultures, you pay kids to do chores, you pay kids to do certain things. I don't know how much truth there is to half of it. I do think it's an interesting conversation.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is this. I actually agree with you that if we ran it like a business, and not just this, other things too, that you guys should get paid. But then the flip side of it also has to be true, right? Because in those same cultures, the parents, the minute you turn 18, they're like, you're on your own now. And up to 18, they don't feel obligated. Indian parents will be like, we have to pay for the education, no matter how much it costs. We have to pay for the wedding, no matter how much it costs. Now, those cultures will not do that. They will be like, we are not paying for this expensive college
Yes.
or school because we need to save for our own retirement.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah.
So it's what I'm finding a lot of is that in America, especially the children of immigrants expect all the benefits and don't want to stand up to the responsibilities. I see that a lot, and that is a problem. Because the Indian parents who are raised with the Indian ethos where you pay for everything were raised in India where it was not as expensive to raise the kids. Like a private school and a private college in America, you're talking, I mean, it's not even in the same ballpark of...
I mean, per unit of income probably is not that different, right? Like incomes are lower too.
Shut up, but it's not though. Like college in India costs nothing, even today.
But
Nothing.
a lot of those parents are sending their kids for college to America.
That's a different matter, but that's not how we grew up. Nobody sent us anywhere, right? And not all of our friends went to college in India. But the guilt of saying to your kid, you should take a loan, is just so like, oh my God, that's like an American
Okay, I have
thing
a very
to do.
specific question for Zoya specifically. Zoya, you're 21 right now. You have a great internship this summer. Next year you're graduating. What do you think should be the age at which you're completely weaned out of the Garg household financially?
It's a crazy
This
question.
includes your cell phone. This includes your
How could you give a
health. This includes what?
How could you give an accurate answer on this? How
I'm not
could she know
expecting an accurate answer. I'm asking her assessment based on all
Like,
the
what does she
information.
think?
What does
What's
she
her
think?
best
yeah.
guess?
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to make her sign a contract.
No,
that you
I
said
know,
this-
but what? There would have to be so many things going into consideration. How
No,
could she
I
just say it?
I think an appropriate age is
with tuition fully paid for. Assume that your tuition is
Okay.
not your responsibility.
I would say probably like I should really be weaned off by graduation.
Oh, that feels aggressive.
I mean, listen,
That's
I think
aggressive, but I mean, I'm proud that you said that. but
I've been working really hard. Listen, I have so much admiration. I have friends that are financially independent from their parents for various reasons. Like I have a friend who's
Already?
Yeah, I have a friend who's financially independent from her parents because she has a very bad relationship with her parents. Like in order for her to have been able to make her own decisions in her life, she had to be financially independent because her parents were very controlling. And I have other friends who, I have friends who are on varying degrees of the financial independence spectrum. Some who also lie and make it seem like they're super independent when they're not, right? Like you can never really tell in college, and I would love to know what other people think about this. You can't really ever tell who's paying for what, and I feel a tremendous amount of guilt for not being independent already. If I had it my way,
why did your parents make? Did your mother
no.
make you feel that?
I feel like it's a sense of when you can provide completely for yourself, it's an accomplishment in America. And I do think it's important for every person and every child and every kid to actually be actively thinking about that. Because, I don't know, I don't want to be dependent on you guys. I would love to get to a point in my life where I felt like I could fully take care of myself and I didn't have to worry about money in the way that I worry about money now. Whenever I spend money on something that is, extravagant of any kind or, for example, like, I don't know, like workout classes, I can't afford all the workout classes I want to, so I split sometimes with mom, sometimes I pay on my own. I do wish that I was like fully financially independent. I think it's super important. But then at the same time, here's the other flip side of the problem. When you are focused entirely on being financially independent from a young age, that doesn't necessarily correlate with making the best business decisions at that age.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So there are a lot of cases where, like, for example, one thing that I think is really astonishing about like white male cultures sometimes is they will move in with their parents and there will just be the expectation that they can just start businesses and work on projects of their own and live with their parents. And there's no like bad blood. There's no stigma to it because it's like this kid is working on building something of value there's delayed gratification. Whereas there's a lot of kids that are like, I need to be financially independent today. And they take a salary job that they don't actually care about and that they're not actually investing in for the long term. And then ultimately, one day they've never built anything of their own. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's such an interesting problem because—
But why do you qualify this as a white thing? I don't follow.
I've seen more in white families that being more appropriate. I don't know. Maybe
there seems to be a stigma in some cultures, for
Yeah.
sure. Like in the Indian culture today, in America, if we had one of our grown children move back, there would be a little bit of fear that our friends are going to make fun of us.
Yeah.
Right? They'd be like, oh, is that kid even doing anything? Also because our culture is less understanding of the entrepreneurial path.
Yeah,
Most Indians who came
exactly.
to America took the lower risk path. They're doctors, they're engineers, they took jobs that, so that aspect of life got glorified. And this rough and tough path of building your own thing and making mistakes and failing and like depending on
That's a
your
very
parents.
American thing.
In America. In
Yeah.
India, people live with their parents, but it's a whole different reason
Yeah.
why people live with their parents. But what trends are you guys seeing? What trends are you guys seeing with your friends?
You in particular, Bridge. Because
I mean, I feel like it's a little bit early for us to like be thinking about financial independence. We haven't even entered college yet.
No, I know, but what are your friends talking about? Like, you have
Nothing.
friends
No,
who are
none of
going
my
to-
friends have ever talked about anything related to like.
So, but a lot of them, they're all going to college.
Yeah.
Are they worried about how they're going to pay for college? Are their parents paying
Some
for
of the
college? What
okay,
is the
so
story?
of course, well, one, most kids apply to college nowadays knowing what their financial situation is going to be. So a lot of the time, people will be like, okay, I can't apply to this certain college because I know I won't be able to afford it. So they'll apply to a different college that's a little bit cheaper.
But when they
and
say,
then-
I won't be able to afford it, do they mean...
they mean their parents would not be able to afford
Okay,
it for
right.
them.
Okay.
And they don't want to take on student loans for all 4
Right.
years at least.
Right.
So a lot of the kids I'm friends with, or actually all the kids that I'm friends with, have made some sort of financial assessment and decision based off of that.
Right. And now you guys are of the age where you go on dates, you go for movies, you go for meals.
Yeah.
Who pays for those? Do they feel like, I wish I had a job so I could pay for this? Or is it coming from their parents' account?
Well, at our age, it's a lot easier, I feel like, to like, and a lot less. Like, if I didn't pay for something and someone I'm dating paid for something, like, I wouldn't think of it that seriously. And I don't think she would either, because it's not like we're adults yet where we have our own money and like we have it's not as big of a deal because
Right.
most people our age are relying on their parents' money to pay for most of their stuff. Now, I mean, it's starting to change a little. Like back a couple years ago when I was a sophomore, junior, that was like the thing. I feel like now everyone's starting to get their own money. Like most people I know either have had a job, have had multiple jobs, or working now. So they're starting making their own money and can pay for stuff. Like most of the stuff now that I like do that's not related to just me purchasing for myself, I will pay with my own money. Or like some of the stuff that I know that you wouldn't necessarily like abide by, I'll pay for myself. Like for example, I bought this like protein supplement and called creatine, and I paid for that myself because I know my mom isn't a fan of it. But
Yeah, but I don't want you to buy it. I'm not a fan of it for the money.
no, I know, but I'm saying instead of dealing with that whole like, oh, you don't want me to buy it, it's not worth it. I just get it myself, so I can just say, okay, I made my own decision. You're not part of this. It's not like I feel like now it's like I'm starting to
That's
split.
actually even worse.
I'm starting
That
to like.
seems really bad. Maybe it would be better if we paid for everything and controlled the kids.
Yeah, I think so too.
I feel like now it's starting to become the age where like it splits into two worlds. Where like one world is the world that's controlled by like what I can't pay for and what I still owe you guys for, and the other world are where it's like I'm fully like an adult and by myself. Like when I make those purchases by myself, I feel like that's taking every time I swipe my card or I enter my card details. I feel like it's me like taking a step further.
How do you
into,
deal with
like,
this
the
in a
life by
social
myself.
setting where, let's say, it's 6 of you going out, boys and girls, doesn't matter who, and 1 or 2 of them are much richer than the
Yeah.
others who can't really afford it? So how do you deal with it?
That's such a good question.
Well, first of all, in New York City,
No,
I feel
that's
like it
true.
ends up becoming like a lot of the people that can't afford a lot of stuff end up going out with each other, and the people who can't afford stuff won't go to dinners, but they'll go to like the park or something. Like the type of hangout will always be different with the type of group of kids you're with.
That's
The
so
people
true.
who I know who go to like private school, for example, they'll always go to like dinners and movies. It'll always be something that costs money. Even if it's like a $20 bill, I feel like they'll always like when it's public school students that I know can't afford as much, I think, or kids I know that can't afford as much, even the $20 cost, like they're just not willing to take because they're like, why? Like it's not going to a movie is not a necessary thing. You're not gaining anything about going to a movie. You're getting like an hour and a half experience.
It's a
of, like,
social
fun.
thing that
Well,
But you can supplement that by going to the park or going to like hang out with your friend. There's so many other things that are free that you can do, especially in New York City now, which are like I feel like I explore a lot more of like the things you're able to do that don't cost money. with
Yes.
people that don't want to spend.
Okay.
What about you at Stanford?
yeah,
Because
I have so much to say on this topic. First of all, I think this is such a good question because in college, one thing that tends to happen is the kids that are quote unquote financially independent are also just like huge moochers off of the people that that are paying for things but with their parents' money. So for example, like even if you can't afford something but you want to participate in an experience with other kids, it's totally fine if you can't afford the experience. Or this is a hard thing to kind of articulate, but I think sometimes what tends to happen is kids who are not relying on their parents' money at all, but are at the age where some people are relying on their parents' money, will then subsequently just not pay for things or be really cheap with their friends, like go out to dinner, like will participate in a fancier dinner but then won't pay their fair share, or like forget to Venmo, or and then
to Venmo
or
is a
like
thing.
get in Ubers with people that are like expensive Ubers and won't pay for those Ubers. And I think it's a really
and then nobody pulls them up on it. Nobody.
well,
asks?
because then it's like, okay, like that person isn't down to just like take me in their Uber, It's a really hard conversation topic. The second thing I wanted to say is Bridge is completely right. One thing that I really appreciate, I'm living in San Francisco this summer and I grew up in New York City. I really, really appreciate growing up in a place where you have to pay a slightly higher rent, but then you don't pay for like other expensive things for the sake of making up for the fact that you can't enjoy the environment you're in. So for example, if I was living in, like a less interesting city, maybe I would be paying for movie tickets and for amusement park rides or for trips all the way out. Like in San Francisco, I go for walks to the farmer's market like every single day. And that's what I enjoy doing. And that doesn't cost anything. So like I do pay a slightly more expensive rent than some of my co-interns, but I'm not paying for other things because
It's a lifestyle.
It's a
choice.
lifestyle
Like, people
choice.
will say that the less expensive cities.
do you guys
just
think that
enjoy your homes?
that friendship across social barrier, financially, socially very different circumstances can even happen? Do you think you can be friends with a billionaire's son or daughter?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so? Can you, Zoya?
And I couldn't imagine a bridge between someone. Like I'm friends. I have so many. Like my friends are very diverse.
Yeah.
I have a crazy diverse set of friends where it's like I know kids that I'm friends with that are like extremely wealthy and can pretty much afford anything they would like to do, and kids that really, really can't afford anything that they would like to do.
Me too.
So, and I just every time like I hang out with them, you just see like it just doesn't. The friendship just doesn't work. It for some reason or other, and maybe it's not even necessarily about the money. It's just like growing up with money, you develop certain personality traits that are different than people who don't grow up with money, and it just never. I
It's
just
a value
never see an
thing.
actual bridge get connected. Like for example, I had this friend that I was like solo friends with for a long time. That was like just one of my close friends, but not part of any group. And I introduced him to both friend groups of like one that's a little bit more wealthy and one that's a little bit less wealthy. And he's a very wealthy kid, so he just gradually like. He just gravitated towards the wealthy kids. Like that's just what happened. Like he had the choice basically, and he just became closer with those kids because like they just get along better. They just do the same thing. It's like you know the same thing that they're. And a lot of the, I also find that a lot of people who grow up with money like are very, very share the exact same viewpoints as their parents. Like there's no difference between what they think and what their parents think, because so much of what they've done in their life has been funded by their parents. Anything that their parents think, they think. So when I talk to their parents, it's literally like I'm talking to them, and vice versa.
So true. When you haven't
what an
been forced,
intelligent point, yeah.
when you haven't been forced to be independent in any capacity, whether it's like financially, like if you're not forced to be independent financially, then it's very rare for the kid to actually learn how to be independent in the way they think. I think Bridge is completely right. I think that's such a good point.
Yeah. And okay, so now bringing it back to the earlier conversation about how like when I think that I should be financially independent, I know that for everyone's like, I feel like once you hit 18 or even 17, maybe 19, like you always feel like what you want. Like if I had a genie in front of me, I would love to say to him, make me financially independent and be able to afford it, right? Like that's one of the wishes I would choose because that's such a huge deal to me. But then there's also like realism and like life path. Like if I'm choosing to be an entrepreneur, which is something that I'm interested in, I know for a fact, which you kind of talked about this, it's not like, it doesn't start with a lot of money. Like the same way a salary for a job might give you, let's just say $100,000, that's something you can live off of. I can live with, for example, Veer, and we can room together, split the rent, and then like, you know, that's a lifestyle, but it's possible. But if I start as an entrepreneur, I might only be making like, maybe even there might be a month where I make $100 and it's just like net $100 because I spent so much and I made like that's how much.
Or you make that $100 and you need to put it immediately back into the business. No,
yeah.
Bridge, I think this is the important thing, and Mom and I talk about this a lot too, is corporate jobs, especially those that cater to college undergrads, are very aware of the fact that kids want to be independent at a young age, right? So when they put a huge paycheck in front of you and they're saying, here is your financial independence, that is such an appealing offer because it's basically rendering all the time that you would spend up front in your early 20s trying to develop something of your own. It's saying you don't have to do that. You don't have to deal with the uncertainty, right? When you're an entrepreneur and you are living in your parents' house and you're trying to build something that you believe in, maybe you're dealing with the uncertainty every single day of, am I ever going to actually wean myself off of my parents? That uncertainty alone is enough to keep anybody from doing that path.
That is a pretty good point.
Well, yeah, but not everybody has the luxury. Like we came here as immigrants, right? We didn't have anybody to room with. We had to take.
Yeah. But that's not a good comparison.
No, it is an important question
because this is a lot of what our viewers and followers watch and listen. They are immigrants. They came here like us. It took us 20 years to put a stable roof over our head.
But you know what? I got to tell you, it's not like it just glamorizes, or I don't know what the right word is. It just glorifies our 20s more than it needs to be glorified. In other words, I wasn't sitting there at Zoya's age at 21 and putting these restrictions on myself artificially. Oh, I cannot be an entrepreneur because I have to put food on the table. It's just because I had no idea what entrepreneurial paths to take. I was very happy with those first two. I thought of myself as the king of the world, getting that first job and getting that first opportunity and then competing with the people and rising through the ranks. So I think it's a little bit of glorification or revisionist history, if you will, that the reason I was not an entrepreneur at 21 is because I was an immigrant, which is kind of the point you're making.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying even if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you couldn't have been. That is a fact. We had nowhere to live.
I mean,
we didn't have have the visa for us to be in this country until you did a corporate job and did the whole
legally, you
thing
cannot.
from beginning to end. I was on a dependent visa for years of my life. Like, I don't know, it's revisionist history or
it's
it's
revisionist
actual,
history in the sense that
accurate history.
what I'm trying to say is that it's not like you and I sat down and
Yes.
said, "Oh my God, I would love to start this business. I cannot because I'm an immigrant."
But what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because was the reason we never had that idea is because we just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a
That's
gray.
a good point.
Like,
and I don't know.
the way she's thinking and he's thinking, what is the value of my time? The thought didn't even occur to us until 5 years ago.
Well, I think, and I don't know if Bridge feels this way, I don't want to speak for him, but the reason why Bridge and I are so, or the reason I am so painfully aware of the value of my time is because if my parents took that 20-year hit to get to this country and actually went through the ranks in order to make sure that we were secure enough to be here, if you're not a child of immigrants and you're not thinking about how do I make that sacrifice worth it tenfold versus my parents who didn't have the ability to do that, I mean, I think that's a question I grapple with every single day.
And I highlighted the question for you. So
Okay.
thank you for that.
I feel like I don't really grapple towards that question.
Why?
I feel like your logic in moving here wasn't all necessarily based on your future with us. I feel like a lot of the reason why, especially Dad, like I know your history. I feel like I don't know your history as much as Dad.
No, it was
is a lot more
not about
complicated,
your
but-
future with us.
Yeah.
She's phrasing it differently than I would phrase it because she got the words muddled up. I put the idea in her head. But here's the thing. What I have said to her, what I'm saying to you, what I'm saying to these guys is that the price for your crown has been paid. You have the groundwork to do something new in a way that we just didn't
Yeah.
have. So consider that alternative as a real viable alternative when you make your life decisions. That's it. That leverage everything, everybody, rich, poor, tall, short, Indian, not Indian, immigrant, not immigrant. We all have a deck of cards that we're dealt. Some cards are good, some cards are bad. But in your deck, you have this one card now that you have parents with a home in America who are willing to support you as long as you pay rent once you're an adult in our house, which is a topic we're going to come back to, which is an offer I made the kids you don't know about. And
Do we get a discount?
Friends
you
and
are
family.
going nowhere. You relax. But you know what I'm saying? All I'm saying, we didn't.
But
we
that-
didn't
that,
build
like-
this career. We didn't build this future thinking of what you guys will do. But we are now saying to you, think of your future as an option of this as well.
But the way that you're explaining to me makes me feel like I don't want to be an entrepreneur. It makes me feel like I want to choose the safe option, or not safe option, because it's still very difficult, but choose the option of working for a corporate company where I know if I fight my hardest and just divert all my time to just basically selling my soul for that company, I feel like I could get a return offer and then build a life out of that. And I feel like I maybe even could reach a potential high level lifestyle like this and make your sacrifice worth it because of that. Like becoming an entrepreneur is so much more. If I think with that mentality, I feel like I can't become an entrepreneur
That's
because then
so
it's eating against you. It's literally eating against you. The fact that the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur is always going to be a problem. But how much uncertainty you might feel, how often you think about, oh my God, my life might just be ruined. I might have made the worst decision ever. Did I go to Stanford just to become a nobody, right? Like that might gnaw at you if you're always thinking, I need to make sure that I make their sacrifice worth it. I need to make sure that I become my parents or at least better than them. But instead of thinking, I'm excited to see the next part of my journey, the more you think I'm excited to keep working at what I'm doing, the higher the chance of you actually becoming
That's
successful
so
probably
true.
is.
That's so true.
Shut up. Why you say things in a way that eat at him?
Bridge, that's so true. I actually I've never heard it that way, but it's so true. I think I think the thing that I think about a lot is my parents gave me this gold hand that they just did not have. And if I don't make it worth it, then I suck.
Yeah.
That is how I think.
That's not right.
But that's how I've always thought. That's how I got into Stanford.
but-
I literally got into Stanford by every single day of my entire existence. I mean, this is the typical eldest child mentality where it's like you literally just sit there and you're like, okay, my parents really want me to go to an amazing college. What do I do to make that happen? If I don't make this happen, then why did they even come to America and why did they even give birth to me? That is literally,
I
that
don't
is
know
my
what-
thought process. That is actually
That's
the
like
logic.
internal issues
That is
right
the
there.
logic.
That is like really extreme.
Like, that is the logic in my brain.
Why did they even give birth to me?
Like, why did I even enter this earth if I didn't get into Stanford? That is literally.
I mean, I don't think like that, but that's crazy.
No, I think, Rich, you're bringing up a good point.
It's also very in football, for example, because everyone knows that I've loved like football growing up. It's a very common thing to say, like work 1 inch at a time. Where the football field is 100 yards, but you're only trying to make 1 inch like progress at a time. Because if you're just looking forward to make that 1 inch, you'll end up stacking up the inches so much it reaches that 100 yards, right? And I feel like a lot of what you're trying to do, I feel like a lot of what Didi's mentality is, even though it's worked for her clearly. I mean, she went to Stanford, she went to a good high school. Like, I feel like it's just you're fighting so much more of a, like you're pushing the largest sled in the shed. You're pushing the largest sled possible to get that 1 inch, right? And you're doing it because you're a very impressive like person. But imagine if that sled was like less heavy. Like it's a bad analogy, but like imagine.
No,
you know
it's
what I
so
mean?
true. It's the cognitive load that I'm taking on too,
Yeah.
because I'm literally just basically, I'm doing the same thing as you. There's no difference. It's just my mentality is crippling anxiety and yours is like excitement for the future.
Yeah.
But I do think that this, goal of financial independence by graduation is an aggressive goal.
It's too aggressive. That I don't agree with.
I mean,
You don't have to.
I would say like a few years after graduation.
I think
is a good one.
date of marriage, maybe when you get married. That's at that point on,
I don't
because
know.
then you have two
Date
people.
of marriage. I mean,
Because then you have two partners, right? That are managing
yeah,
the
but
home.
like we're in America, Shalab. People don't get married in their 30s, in their
Yeah,
40s.
but let's
in
not
their
our case.
whatever,
Most
like-
likely, Zoya will be married the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
maybe a
6
year.
months. Oh Jesus.
The date is going
what?
down.
I didn't even know what I'm made
The timetable keeps like getting closer and closer.
No, but okay. So Shalab, this might be breaking news for you, but I told the kids that if you guys want to work on something, you guys want to work on an entrepreneurial thing, you always have the option to move back in with us if you want, but you will have to pay rent. You cannot be an adult working, earning an income, and not contributing to our household if you're choosing to live in our ecosystem. Do you agree with that or do you not agree with that?
I mean, I like the idea of getting paid rent.
Okay, good.
What about like,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, let's say we were going towards like an entrepreneurial goal. Like, would you, this happens a lot in Silicon Valley, and I just watched the show again, Silicon Valley, the show.
Yeah.
So it's like in my head right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, would you ever like want to do something like equity wise? Just think like, oh, this company works.
I mean,
like,
I assume I have equity in anything you start.
okay.
How would I?
I don't know how you just make that
I mean,
assumption.
I would
like,
say that's
I mean, like
like a gift.
contractually, like
Yes.
owning equity in a company.
I'm done. In RSVP, yes.
Like, if
Do we have a deal?
But then rent might be different. Like a lot of people, it's like
equity
yeah.
relative to the cost of the rent. Absolutely.
What's it called
I think
if you own a
that's-
house? Like some people own houses,
Yeah.
and harbor people for equity in their company.
Yeah, hacker house.
Hacker house.
We could turn
right?
our house into a hacker house for the two of you, no problem.
Yeah, but I'm just
because
saying.
are you kidding? I would run to bet on my kids before I let you guys take a dime of those vultures, venture capital, Y Combinator garbage. Before I let any of those people invest a dime in you guys, I will invest, your dad will invest, and we will take equity. Equity we should get anyway, but like that's a whole another story. Right?
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking a lot about what Bridge is saying right now because I'm like, wow, his mentality is so healthy. I'm like, why have I never thought like that? I literally, oh my gosh, I think so differently. It's just wild to me. I mean, Veer, do you think like in a healthy manner as well? What am I missing?
I don't
here?
own like I don't know.
Veer is not right now.
I'm not like an entrepreneur.
He's building his empire on his own terms right now as a
I mean,
kid.
that's not true. You've done so many entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you motivated
kinda
by, Veer?
Just money. Like I don't know. It's trying to. There's no mentality. It's just that the end goal is money. That's it.
Okay, but what Bridge said and what Zoya said, you understand the difference, right?
Yeah.
Zoya feels the burden of it, of doing something, to enhance a parent sacrifice. Bridge thinks that this could be restrictive and that maybe if he was just a free bird doing his own thing, he would come out ahead. Do you have an opinion on that?
No. When I'm doing like anything entrepreneurial, even though if it's not like the most serious thing ever, my mentality is just like a straight shot to the money. That's it. I don't have any thoughts.
But you have to think about so much. Like it's not that easy. Actually, I guess like with your
No,
jobs,
I think
you
he's
do
right.
kinda
I mean, I do
crazy.
think
Yeah.
what Veer's saying is totally valid, where he's just saying, I'm not thinking about any of this complicated stuff. There's nothing
just
that
want the
motivates
profit
me.
margin to
I
be
just
there.
want the profit margin to be there. I mean, it's actually great economics. It's like, how much money am I spending? How much money does
Yeah,
my
it's
product
there.
cost?
It's not more of what like my parents or whatever I think why did my parents bring me into this world. It's just that
Zoya, that was a little.
Yeah, it's just thoughts about just thoughts about the actual business in a straight shot. Just how do I make more money?
No, because you know what? I do think Veer actually is bringing up a really good point, because I do think that sometimes I think way too large in scope. Maybe if I thought way more simply on like, I think about things like 5 years down the line. I'm like 5 years down the line, I want X vision. And I think there is benefit to that in some regards, because maybe you're shooting really high and just the act of shooting really high lets you land somewhere higher than you could have imagined. But I think Veer brings up a good point, because if you're thinking about things just like one project at a time and you're just thinking about what is the service or product I can provide to actually make money, that's a way better framing, because you're actually just focusing on the money and not just this crazy goal that might not be attainable.
Okay, all right. But let me ask you guys another follow-up question based on this whole financial independence thing. Do you feel that you spend your money differently if it's your parents' money or if it's
Yes.
your own money?
200%.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way?
More dumb stuff. Like I wouldn't just buy a pair of shoes with your money. I would buy a pair of shoes with my money.
I'd buy a pair of shoes with your money.
With my money. And with your money, would you buy the same
I feel
pair
better
of shoes?
about it doing it with my money.
So it's no different to you?
For me, it's no difference.
No.
The way I spend your money versus my money, it'll all just depend on like.
So let me give you a question, because you're on the threshold of this. You're going to college this
Yeah.
fall. Let's assume the college is a $400,000 journey, because that's a realistic number at most colleges
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Right? $400,000.
Yeah.
If I said to you, Bridge, I will give you the $400,000 this year, you can choose to spend it on college or not.
Yeah.
Would you still go to college with that money, or would you spend it differently?
I'd definitely at least go to college for like 2 years for sure, and then I'd reassess with the remaining 200,000.
Yeah, that's such
And
a
I'd
good
also feel
point.
like-
Bridge, that's such a good point.
I also feel like with the 200,000, I feel like there's too much things I feel like that would be too much money for me to handle at this point.
Right.
Like that would just be too much.
That's
smart
such a
answer.
good
That's
point.
just like, but I would definitely take the first 2 years and just see.
So you wouldn't be
what
like,
all-
I'm going to just take this money and do something else.
Because also, again, when I was talking about like a point of looking 1 inch at a time, like my end goal, obviously, like you, is to make money. But I'm not looking right now at money. I'm looking at what steps can I take to eventually become able to make that money, right? So one of those steps might be for myself, especially for myself. I think I need to learn a couple more things. I'm not done learning yet, and there's more I need to learn before I can start making money.
Oh my God, Bridge is
So it's
hitting
like-
me. My
Bridge is
God.
so smart.
No, it's true, because when you
It's
go to
true.
college,
Yeah.
you actually, if you use college right? Okay, this is such an interesting thing, but like
It's gonna be
college,
controversial.
a little bit controversial, right? If you spend your years in college gaining hard skills,
Yes.
which include writing,
STEM.
which include
No,
writing.
oh, wait, what?
No, if you learn how to write exceptionally well, if you learn how to code, if you learn how to think really critically,
STEAM.
if you use college as an opportunity to find mentors, to actively network and meet people that are smarter than you, right? I've used college in so many ways to actually meet just really brilliant people, students, professors, people that come to lecture halls. Like I go to every single one of these speaker situations that exist, and I go and I give them my number, or I try and get their email. Like those are all extraordinarily valuable things you can do in college. Like people seem to misinterpret college as this like the best 4 years of your life. Like use it as an opportunity to network and build your skill set, I think. And I think that's what Bridge is saying. That's where you learn.
I'm reading this book right now, and it's called The Psychology of Money. And this book is really, it talks about a lot about the difference between luck and risk, and how like even someone like Warren Buffett, they talk a lot about Warren Buffett, is like he had to have gotten a lot of luck to become where he has. Even though he's intelligent and obviously made great investments, there has to be an element of luck, and no matter what. And it's all about maximizing the amount of like opportunity you can make to reduce that amount of luck that you need, and make it so that you can take as many risks as possible without relying on luck. Because no one can rely on luck. Even though you need it, you can't rely on it. So it always talks about how like going to college and just learning something and using it right can be a way to reduce the amount of luck needed, right? If I feel like I can get a great degree in CS and become one of the greatest, just single language, maybe just Python. Maybe all I know is Python. I don't know C, I don't know JavaScript. All I know is Python, and use that Python. I know for a fact I can probably get some sort of job relating to just using Python and coding. That's not what I want to do, but that is something that can help be a building stone to what I do want to do. So it's like, for me, again, like when I'm going to college, I always talk about this. I'm really interested in like nutritional science and food technology as like a whole. So I definitely think that I need to like, I don't know enough about biology and about macromolecules. That's what I think is the next step in my journey.
just saying that if you learn enough about biology and molecules, and he used the word molecules again.
Oh my God,
which I'm
Mom.
not gonna, like my son used the word molecules. But if you learn all that,
basically pre-med.
it also exactly. I'm just saying. I'm not. Look, I don't force you the way he does.
How did I force?
You said it. I didn't even use the M word. But not with her, not with him. But two different M words. But I'm just saying that if
do you
you
mean
went
marriage
down
and
that
medicine?
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't.
When do we get off your Netflix accounts?
Yeah, when?
Those are all part of the same.
Which is a good
thing.
question.
I feel like
Ever?
we can't afford Netflix yet.
What?
Like Netflix is like a later like
How are you guys affording lunch and dinner and juice and not Netflix?
because Netflix like adds up all those things like in a year out. Especially I love Hulu. I'm like the biggest Hulu supporter ever, and it literally like when I actually look at the bill, it's crazy. Like there's no way for the first part of my life I'll be able to have Hulu.
Yeah, I don't afford it.
There's just no way.
But those are luxurious items.
I
you
feel
don't
like
need
a family
Netflix.
plan, if we're all paying our own
Yeah,
part,
facts.
that
I
would
think
be
we should stay
cheaper.
on your plan.
I think we stay on the
agree.
family plan,
I agree with
but we
you.
all pay our parts.
We should always be on your plan.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, the answer
I
is
actually
never.
think that would be financially smarter than just all opening our own
The
account.
answer is
We'll give you like $3 a month.
Oh, okay, that's very helpful.
Actually, hold on. Now that we're thinking about this, if you were to be on the family plan, and that costs what, $15 a month? If me and Didi and Veer all gave you $5 a month,
That's literally
that
what
would
I
be
just
kind of
said.
genius. Yeah, that's genius, Veer.
That's smarter than just all.
Because then none of us
We
have to
get
pay.
nothing for $15 a month, just so you know. Everything we
Yeah,
pay
for
for
$15 a
the
month.
ad-free account, this add-on, the ad, or somehow our streaming services are costing $500-600 a month. I don't even know. We've lost track.
What
how much
age do
we're
you
paying.
think is appropriate for us to be financially independent? Do you really mean marriage?
I
What if
did
you
really
marry
mean
and
marriage.
what if you marry somebody? What if you marry? Okay, there's two. This is a two-pronged question. What if you marry somebody who is not comfortable sharing a bank account with you the way that you guys have done together? Because that's a big thing now. I mean, many people my age just get prenups and then they just live separately, actually. And then the second question is, what if you marry somebody who is making less money than you?
I mean, if you marry someone who's making less money than you, that's one thing. I
Okay.
think that's sort of like, I really hope you marry for love and things associated with love. But even though L is a forbidden word, but at the same time, in the first part, where I don't know how to associate with that way of living, where
Yeah.
you're married to each other and you're not even sharing responsibilities.
That's honestly so true. Like, this is something I think about a lot. Is like, for example, immigrant
I mean,
families.
why are you even trying to get
Yeah,
married?
no,
Like,
no. It's a really good point, Dad. Like, I think, like, okay, in American culture, though, it is very, very increasingly popular to get a prenup and to not share your expenses. Because some people actually feel that true love is love that is made, like, independent of money. So, for example, I've decided to marry this person, not for their money, not for their responsibilities on the table. I've decided to marry this person because I actually just love them so much. Does that make sense? I agree with the way that you approach marriage and money and relationships. Like, personally, I think that why would you marry somebody if you didn't want
what's
to build
the point?
with them?
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that you don't make that choice.
Yeah.
And that you are with someone and when I use that demarcation, I was thinking of a traditional format of marriage where,
Yeah.
where
Yeah,
two
but
partners would
Shalabh,
be running a home.
that is reality today. I mean, there are people who are worth a lot more money, and you might like them. And what are you gonna say? No, I won't marry you because of the prenup. Like, you can't do that. Like, you have to
I mean,
find.
again, I wasn't thinking of such a big disparity in
Yeah.
social standing either. I
Yeah,
wasn't
but
thinking
let's
that.
assume like an average situation,
Regular
a
situation
more
that,
mainstream, realistic
she
situation.
marries someone from MIT, she's at Stanford, and then the two of them get married and live a life. That's sort of what I was thinking.
Right. That's okay. But I would say a few years after graduation, I would expect that you can cover the vast majority of your expenses. And then I'm going to add something that I'm going to get flamed for by all the young people. And then a few years after that, I would hope that you guys would offer to take over some of our expenses.
Yeah,
I don't
have that
disagree with
I don't
that.
have that
That's fair.
expectation.
I don't.
I
think
want
it's
to give
no-
you all my money. I'm dying. I want to make the sacrifice.
You know what? Can
with
I
it.
just say something? One point backward
Yeah.
and an additional point. To me, what is more important is that you have that intent and desire
to make
and
money?
ambition to be financially independent, as opposed to that exact specific time when you're able to do so.
What does it look like for you to feel like we have that intent and desire?
I think you do already. I have no
So
doubt
you
in my
care
mind.
more about the effort rather than the
Yes.
actual practice.
Yes, because so long as you make the effort, that's the most one can expect and hope
Oh,
for.
Dad is such a sweet parent.
Oh my God, he
makes me
totally
feel
knows.
so seen.
He knows what's gonna work in the
No.
podcast. He's totally doing this.
I feel
for the
so like
now
loved.
everybody is going to be like, "Hey, great to shut up," and he knows how to manipulate you.
fine.
People don't fall for this.
No, but he actually does act that way. He actually does say that irrespective of the podcast.
Anyway, I don't. I think that you guys, once you're independent, should start thinking, what can we do to help our parents, whether we need it or not. God willing, we never need it. But you should be thinking service back to your parents for sure. And I know I'm going to get flamed for this. And I know my podcast guy is going to make a clip of this. He's frantically typing down the timestamp because he doesn't agree with it himself. So I know this is going to go on full blast everywhere. But I personally think that no one else is going to do anything for their parents. In this country, there is no support for older people. There's no support for aging people. And we have to take
That's
care
not
of
true.
each other. What do you mean?
There's a lot
that's
of
not-
support for aging people.
Like what?
There's 100 million bills. The whole point of like a lot of what
None
we're
of
working
those.
for is
Have
it
you
goes
seen
towards-
the state of old people
but
in
Yeah,
this
but
country?
they
Let's not-
protect them. That's you know what they call it. Actually, this is interesting. There's a bill passed that protect people that are senior citizens in order to keep them funded so that they can live. And you know, no politician in the last 20 years has ever even proposed a change to that bill. Do you know why? It's called the third rail. They call it the third rail bill. Do you guys know what happens if you touch the third rail?
I don't know.
You die. So they say politicians never touch it. It's a third rail because it's so airtight and people love it. The reason why people are getting concerned about it right now is because the amount of people getting bored every year is becoming less and less.
Yes.
But irrespective, the bill actually does provide a lot of benefits towards senior citizens.
Bridge, yes, but those are the bare minimums. Like we would hope that
No,
just
of
like
course,
we
of
don't,
course, I'm saying.
we would not
But in
roll
this
our
country,
kids
there is
out
help.
into the no.
If
Like
less
I
people are
wonder
being
if
born-
that same bill would withstand in India. I wonder if they would have
no.
something like
I mean,
that.
in India, no one's thinking about it.
Yeah, but in India, okay, that's the
And plus,
other.
you're comparing a rich, developed,
yeah.
like 10 times bigger economy, not 10 times, but at least 6, 7, 8 times with a third of the population, right? It's
Not
a
just
good
that,
apples
but
to
you're
apples
also
comparison.
comparing cultural, like a very strong cultural difference. If mom and dad were in India, the culture is that you guys would live with your parents in some capacity, that the cousins and the aunts and the uncles, it's a very communal living environment, whereas we live as a unit on our own, and mom and dad sacrificed their, community to raise us here, right?
No, I agree. I'm
No,
just saying.
and
on
this
their
is
own
not
island.
to say a one-to-one you should pay us back. I'm just saying the idea should be in your mind that, and not just us, whoever you marry, their parents, whoever you partner up with, their parents, anybody in your world that has been instrumental in giving you a good life, that person should be on your horizon for what can I do for this person. I think
Of course.
it's only
I mean,
fair.
we've been very clear about the fact that we would love to do that.
But
too.
this has been like I know this money topic is endless. It's the number one search on Google, money, money, money. We want to hear from you guys what you think on this topic. What age does financial independence start? What age does it stop? This has been such a fun episode. A lot of eye-opening moments for me. And we're going to close this episode with a round of good grades with Gargs as we close every episode with. Here, each Garg assigns an A grade to another Garg based on the winning moment of the podcast, entertainment, education, emotion, whatever that moment brought. And at the end of this episode, we want to hear from you who gets the A grade. Put it down in the comment. We want to hear from you. So,
I'm ready. I honestly am.
okay, go.
Okay, obviously this episode goes to Bridge, A grade to Bridge. Bridge absolutely broke down the psychology of money, financial independence, and the varying degrees to which how we feel about it, how I want to feel about it in a productive manner. I do think that I have a tendency to be so dreadful and fearful about everything, and that doesn't get you anywhere, right? You have to be optimistic and you have to believe you're going to make that inch every single day. That is what will get you to the place where you want to go. And I think Bridge's optimism is something I'm learning from and I feel very inspired by. And yeah, I do think that Bridge and I and Veer are going to be financially independent adults who are able to provide for you guys. I think that we're fully within range of doing that. And any fear that I have is really just inherited and not actually productive. And
From your mother's side.
I do.
Oh, okay. I knew.
Inherited.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I have to split it between Bridge and Zoya. They were both very, very articulate about two different sides of the same coin. and I couldn't pick one over the other, so I'm gonna split it.
Okay. All right. Who wants to go? You two?
I'm giving my A grade to mom because I think that the idea of us moving in with you on a paid rent is really smart, and I think that could be helpful one day.
One
You
day.
understand she'll be your landlord.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so what? Landlord is a good thing.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
but she's not gonna let you do much.
Okay. No. If he
Yeah, if
pays,
you're ever
then
like
he
out
has
partying, you have to
autonomy.
think about it. Like she'll know if you're out partying and not working.
Yeah,
then.
she
like
no,
there
she
is you
respected
can't call in
the-
sick and lie.
Stop trying to influence.
But
his
I'm not
mind.
paying. I'm
I'm
paying
joking,
rent
I'm joking,
just to
I'm
live there.
joking.
Yeah. No. We're.
I'm paying rent to live there. That doesn't mean that she
Yes.
can tell me what I do.
Yes,
in
yes,
my room.
as
Yes, she
your
can.
landlord,
As your
she
landlord,
controls
she can
your
literally
space.
yeah.
She can say you can't.
No, she
I
cannot
would
control
not.
his
I would
behavior.
But she can
can't tell me
control
I
the,
can't
she
go
control his
outside and party.
contract.
She cannot do that.
No.
She can say, Veer, you're not working hard enough. If you don't start working, you're not gonna live here next month.
But I'm paying her.
Yes, but she might not accept
She can
the pay.
evict you.
Yeah.
They're trying to scare you.
No,
but
we're,
That makes
we're,
no
we're
sense.
right. We're
No,
right. I'm just
you're
letting
not.
you know.
Okay.
How can she take me out of my apartment?
She
It's
can.
not your apartment.
It's not your apartment.
She, it's her apartment.
You
Yeah,
can
but-
get evicted for any reason.
Nothing is happening. Why are you trying to freak this?
That doesn't
thing
make
out?
any sense.
Yeah, that makes
No,
sense.
it does make sense.
It does. I have a
But if
feeling
I'm
we get
giving
into
her
a fight
money,
and she's like, Zoya,
What
you're
does she?
evicted.
What more does she want from me?
Because you know that
she might want you to work. She is your mom and too, so she'll control you in every sort of manner. She might want you to not go to a party on one night. She might say you're not going to
That's
that party.
different. That I don't care about because that can be talked about. But why?
No,
can't she
but it can't
evict
because
me?
the power dynamics would be she has the power and you have no power, so you're not going
Yeah,
to.
then I'm gonna move
Just
out.
stop creating boogeymans over here when none exist. I've
She
been
knows.
nothing but a model
She
of
knows I'm
understanding
right.
so far.
She knows.
Who do you want to
Model
give your A grade?
Okay. I'm gonna give my A grade to Veer because I think that when he started his lemonade stand and made a lot of money, it made me think, holy shit, my brother is making more money than me. And then because of that feeling, and my younger brother, sorry, because she can make more money than me, but if he makes more money than me, that's an issue. So for me, I was thinking like, okay, I need to now get a job and start making more money than him because that's insane.
Veer, you honestly, you set the standard. You set the standard.
And I assigned my grade completely coincidentally and not related to how he spoke about me to Veer because he had the winningest attitude about money today. And even though Bridge broke it down very well and we have discovered many roots of Zoya's problems, but Veer's attitude was spot on. All he thinks about when he thinks about a business is how am I going to get to the money? Because keeping that straight line clear is the fastest, shortest, most effective way to actually get there. And for that, and this is a complete coincidence that we assign A to each other. This was not
Oh my
discussed.
God.
Sounds like
We cannot wait to hear who you assign your A grade to, what is going on in your family, who is earning, who is spending, who is taking care of their parents, who is not taking care of their kids. We want to hear it all. Put it down in comments. Share this episode with all your friends so we can find out who's doing what in their households. And can't wait to see you until the next episode. Bye from the Gargs.
Bye.
Bye.